Well, I think Theresa May was offering the Russian government an opportunity to say this was, a mad scientist who stole something from one of our laboratories and because of some personal dispute poisoned Sergei Skripal. And, this is terrible and we will prosecute or help you to prosecute the individual concerned. Now, I don't think that Theresa May imagined that the Russian government would use that excuse, but it was in a sense offered. Mm-hmm. But the alternative excuse, which seems much more likely, is that Vladimir Putin has said in the past that traitors to Russia should, as he put it, choke on their 30 pieces of silver. He's made no secret of his belief that traitors should be killed. The Russian government has legal authority to kill people who are regarded as traitors and who live beyond Russia's borders. And we know that the Russian government had access to this type of nerve agent. Mm-hmm. So as the statement by Britain, the United States, France and Germany said yesterday, there is no other plausible explanation other than that it was agents of the Russian state. Mm-hmm. Now, if the Russian government wants to say that no, this was not done by any Russian official, it was done by some rogue element, and I guess they still have the chance to do that. Mm-hmm. But that is not the approach that they have taken. Mm-hmm. So far they are arguing either that the British did it themselves or that somebody has done it in order to discredit Russia ahead of the World Cup. Mm-hmm. So May has left herself room to take a lot further steps. I mean, in fact, no Russian assets have yet been frozen. She merely indicated that that was one of the options. So really, for the moment, the main steps that have been taken by the British side are to expel 23 Russian spies from the Russian embassy and to break off high-level contacts, including cancelling an invitation to Sergei Lavrov to pay a visit to London in return for the visit that Boris Johnson paid to Moscow in December of last year. But we have not started freezing the assets of oligarchs close to Putin, nor have we taken the action that Theresa May indicated would be possible to freeze the assets of any Russian state-owned companies who might have been involved in these sorts of activities in the UK. Mm-hmm. Yeah, BuzzFeed published a list of 14 suspicious cases. Mm-hmm. Some of them seem to me to be more suspicious than others. But the British police are quite right to take a look at all of them. Mm-hmm. But it seems to me that the one that stands out is the case of the banker Peripelichny, where traces of a very rare poison were found in his stomach. Mm-hmm. And that seems to me to be a case which needs to be looked at very much more closely. He had been involved in the Magnitsky case. He had been involved in helping to uncover where some of the money stolen from Bill Browder, which Sergei Litvinenko was investigating, where some of that money had gone to. So, there were definitely people who had an interest in killing Peripelichny, and his death seemed very convenient for some people. It seems to me that, as with Litvinenko, it's very unlikely that the people who tried to assassinate Sergei Skripal and his daughter are still in the United Kingdom. It's most likely that they are back in Russia by now. Mm-hmm. And that being the case, even if we identify them, we will not be able to extradite them, since Russia refuses to extradite its own citizens to other countries to face trial. So I fear that it's quite unlikely that we will be able to bring somebody into court, at least in the short term. In the long term, as the Americans have shown with various Russian criminals like Victor Bout, you may be able to find these people on holiday somewhere, with which you have an extradition treaty, and get them into court in your own country after that. But in the short term, I assume that these people will be sitting tight somewhere in Moscow or somewhere else in Russia, and that it will be very difficult for us to get our hands on them. And because of that, and because of the involvement of the Russian state, there will continue to be a freeze on many sorts of contact between the United Kingdom and Russia. And in some ways, that's a pity. There are certainly areas of foreign policy where we ought to be able to work together, but it's a choice of the Russian government to try to assassinate its enemies overseas, and if they behave in that way, then there have to be consequences. We cannot simply go on with business as usual.